Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krunzman.
Can I say something right off the top?
Yeah.
You see the spider flying down right in front of the
Oh,
camera?
wow.
I don't
That's
know
a
if
deadly
I
guy.
don't know if that is shown on camera
It's
over
not.
there.
It just missed my
It just
camera.
missed, but wow, that is pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Do you think that's deadly?
I hope not.
Pat, you want to take care of that for us?
Yeah, I don't know
We
what's
don't
going
need that
on
thing.
over here.
We don't need that thing. Oh, it's going back up now. Oh, it's going back
There
up.
we go.
Better hurry up, Pat. Hurry up.
Little,
What's taking so long,
little
dude?
live excitement there on the fly. Coming to you, as always, from the beautiful...
Oh, you went for the hand?
Yes, you did.
Jeez.
Coming to you, as always, from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey, which today has a spider population. Apparently, this is Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast, brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project. We appreciate their sponsorship, as always, and we do encourage you to check them out at their website, thebamboozleproject.com, now conveniently across your screen. And I'm going to guess that the promo code is going to come on the screen next, which is 25% off.
Yeah, Pat,
and
switch
that
on us.
is using promo code MYPB. Use that. We were giving out some free stuff last week for our 100th episode. So if you were a recipient of any of that stuff, we hope you enjoyed it. If you were not, you still have the opportunity to purchase it at any time at thebamboozleproject.com. And again, use that promo code. It works on every item. We got a question last week like, hey, does the promo code only work on certain things? And the answer is it works on everything.
Everything.
So MYPB is your hookup to get you 25% off. You can send us your questions at any time at mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can DM us on our Instagram page at Mind Your Puckin' Business. Very creative there with the name of what the page should be. You can send us your questions there, and we have a bunch today that we are going to answer. One of them I think is a very good question, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. And this is episode number 101, Ciento Uno. I will say that I was about to screw that up because last week was Cien. So I figured it was Cien y Uno. And then I did a quick Google just to double check, and I realized I was wrong. So
is there an E in there?
No.
Ciento
Uno. Ciento Uno.
Ciento Uno.
Ciento Uno.
Oh, all right. Learn something new every day.
Yes, you do. But you
is
do
it
not.
going to be Ciento y Dos?
I'll bet you next week I'm going to take a guess. Not the spoiler alert here for those tuning in next week. It's probably going to be Ciento Dos next week, would be my guess.
Buddy.
If I had to, put some money on it. So right off the top, I want to thank everyone for the congratulatory stuff over the last week with the 100th episode. We ate like kings in here last week. I think I gained some weight from it. And we appreciate all the well wishes. We picked up a lot of subscribers, followers, whatever it was last week. So we appreciate you. If this is your first time on board, we welcome you. Maybe we should apologize in advance for anything we do that you don't like, but we welcome you, and we welcome you to the MYPB fam. And we thank everyone for their well wishes with the 100 stuff. And I'm kind of happy now to put it behind and get back to being the normal stupid stuff that we do around here, Dougie Sticks.
Absolutely.
For today's episode 101, which we are taping today on Tuesday, January 17th.
On the road to 200.
Yes, the road
starts now.
The road now begins. We will have to plan something for our 200th episode. We've obviously got some time.
Yes.
We've got 2 years, but we will plan some stuff for that. So the New York Rangers really continue to do what they need to do. If you listened to us about a month and a half ago when the world was falling and the sky was falling, and we made this whole parody here in the studio of the panic button, right? Like, is it time to push the panic button? And every week we were inching closer and closer and closer till we really got to the point where we had our hand up in the air about to come down on that panic button. And since then, the Rangers have turned it around and are now, believe it or not, 14-3-2 in their last 19 games, which is just incredible. And I think it's even more incredible if you just look at the fact of where they were and how bad they had been to be now 14-3-2 in the last 19. So let's break it down a little bit. We were on last week. They played Dallas on Thursday night at home. Now, this is a game that if you didn't see it, it's okay. Because it's the sort of game that's now going to be replayed on like MSG Classics and all these things for years because of what happened. The Rangers were down 1-0. They tied the game with less than a second left.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like they were down by a goal and tied the game with a minute and a half left. No, They tied it with 0.9 seconds on the clock on a goal by Keandre Miller. The game then proceeds, obviously, to go to overtime, and Adam Fox wins it about a minute and a half in, and they win the game 2-1. So if you were at that game, and I actually happen to know some people that were, you sat through 59 minutes and 59 seconds of being really annoyed, and yet that last second brought you an ending that will be replayed forever because they also went on and win in overtime, and Adam Fox with a really nice backhanded goal to win it. So they won there, and then, here's what you don't like, but you can't go crazy about it, but you don't like, and I'm going to actually give some credit here to my son in a minute. They played Montreal, who is not good, on Sunday at home, right? You've had 3 days off, so it's not even a back-to-back situation. And they lost 2-1. And my son brought up a good point. Dad, they keep losing the bad teams, which he's right. They lost to Ottawa at home. They then lost the next night. They lost to the worst team in the NHL, the Blackhawks, at home. You don't like giving away points where the points should really have been yours because the team is not good. But at the same time, you know what? You can't go crazy about it. Teams have bad days. You're not going to go 82-0. You don't expect to lose the games to Montreal. You don't expect to lose the games to Chicago back in December, but it happens. You know what? If you can go out and it puts more pressure on you to win the games that you need to, then that's all you got to do. Last night was a very interesting game for this team because you lost Sunday at home versus Montreal. You turn around, you fly to Columbus an hour and a half. You have a back-to-back last night. Shesterkin's not in, Halak, and the Rangers played great. They were so dominant. Now, look, part of it is that they didn't Columbus is not good, but you do like the response. We'll pull up that question again. I saw you just put it on the screen. I didn't get to it. And Christine commenting that wasn't that the best moment to be there, and it was. And Christine, unfortunately, I missed the game. I was not there. I have season tickets. I was not there. But yes, I would say if you were at that game, and you were a Ranger fan, before they scored that goal, and you're about to walk out of the Garden and see your team be shut out 1-0, you are annoyed, right? You're like, I spent money on the tickets, maybe food, which cost $40, which, by the way, I was at a Knicks game yesterday at the Garden. Oh my God, is food it's like out of control. I mean, it really is. So, you kind of walk out of there and you're going to be annoyed. And then literally it turns into like a game you never forget. So yes, it was a great night to be there. And I'm going to bring up Christine's point on Sunday. And she's right. She brings up a good point that Sunday they were hit by a stomach bug that was going around the locker room. If you were out, that made Sunday different. It was. I mean, you still like to think that the depth on this team is still strong enough to beat a team like Montreal at home, especially when you have, 3 days off prior. But it happens. Like, you don't lose sleep over it. It happens. What you do like, though, I think what you like more than what you could have been disappointed in is you like the response last night. They played really well out of the gate. The power play was good last night. The penalty kill was good. And they just had possession of the puck a lot. I believe at one point, if I remember in the second period, the shots were 18-4 in favor of the Rangers, which, look, if that's the case, if you have an 18-4 shot advantage, I don't care what point of a hockey game you're in, chances are you're dominating play and you have a good chance to win. And they went on to win 3-1. Now, we got a lot of hate here about a month and a half ago. Like a lot of hate on Halak, the backup goalie. No, like this was so I need to bring up a couple things here. Yaroslav Halak has now won 4 straight starts.
Yeah.
He's won 5 of 6, which both are impressive stats. But it is not as impressive as this. In those 6 starts, he's allowed, on average, a goal a game. So he has turned it around here. So for all these people that said Yaroslav Halak was the worst free agent signing, we should have brought Georgiev back because he was going to command a lot of money, which is also why they didn't give him back, and he's now the starter in Colorado. It looks like Halak is now showing you that the front office knew what they were doing. And on a night like last night, what you like is when you have a response game where the night before you didn't play well and the team needs to respond and you don't have your number one goalie, Vezina winning Igor Shesterkin in net, Halak can come in there and win 3-1.
Nice.
So it looks like things have gotten a little bit better. So let's talk about the bad news.
You ready? Bad news.
You ready?
We got bad news?
We do. I am going to try. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to say this. And normally what I do, and this, I'm not proud of this, but I have like a general idea of what we're going to talk about with the Rangers. And then we come here and it kind of just comes out. I'm so confused on how I want to say this that literally driving here today, I was trying to like figure out how I want to do this.
Oh man.
But I still don't know. Okay.
Oh man.
All right. Chris Kreider, we know last week, if you tuned in the 100th episode with Dan Rosen, he was injured the night before. And Dan had kind of said, look, I don't think Chris Kreider will be back for the next few games.
Mhm.
Dan Rosen, as he usually is, was right. My next question to Dan on the fly that day was, okay, you know what? Alexis Lafreniere now is going to get his chance that I've been campaigning for, that we've been making Instagram clips that people get really like crazy about for some reason, that Alexis Lafreniere is now going to get his chance to be a top line ringer. And we can see, because if you go back, all I've said here for the last 2 months is let him play with top line players.
Yeah,
Chris Kreider gets hurt. What happens? He's gotten the chance to play with top line players. His time on ice, which has been a concern, is now skyrocketed because he's playing with top line players. Dougie Sticks has his production followed.
I mean, you said this was bad news.
I did give you a hint.
Yes. So I would say no. So he has not been playing well?
No, he has not shown anything in the last week of having top line minutes to make you think that it is going to work or be confident. There was a tweet yesterday, and I want to read it because we reposted it, and I actually think for what it is saying, it is kind of condensing what I'm trying to say, and I'm going to have someone else say it because I don't want to say it.
Eminem said it. You only get one shot. Don't miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better.
Thank you. Here we go. This comes from the Blue Seat blog. So I'll give him credit at Blue Seat blog. This is not me saying it, but I think it needs to be said. Sorry to say this, but Alexis Lafreniere has done very little with his new top line and power play one time. He looks invisible, same mistakes away from the puck. It's only 2 games, of course, and it's not like he's the only one, but this is his chance and he's squandering it. That is dead on accurate.
How many chances do you think he's going to get?
Well,
How long is Kreider out?
I think that's the answer. I think he's going to get time until Kreider comes back.
Which is?
The Rangers don't know. Upper body injury, it sounds like a shoulder. I'm going to guess that Kreider is probably out on Thursday versus Boston and probably is back Monday versus Florida. So the concern here is for those, including myself, that have said Alexis Lafreniere is deprived of an opportunity to prove himself. He's not proving himself with the opportunity.
Yes.
And that is a concern.
That's a concern.
And then the question becomes, and we're not here yet. I'm just going to throw it out there, but we're not at this point yet. But if you're convinced, or you get to the point that you're convinced that Alexis Lafreniere is not this generational talent, which he was built to us as being, then what do? Right? The longer you sit here and wait on a product that is not developing, the lower his value goes. I'm not campaigning for the Rangers to trade him. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is if you're in the camp that says, I know definitively Alexis Lafreniere is not good and he's going to be a bust, then you need to trade him sooner than later because the value is only going to go down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I want to take a question, and I don't know if Christine from Double Defense Podcast is still, because she's been commenting. I don't know if she's here, but I would welcome her feedback if she is. And we got a question over the weekend, and I read it, and I was like, well, it's a weird question. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, it's a good question, and I don't know the answer to it, but I'm going to try and answer it because I think it stands. Mika Zibanejad has been arguably the best Ranger in the last couple years. I'm going to leave off Igor Shesterkin because Igor Shesterkin plays a completely different position, and he had a really good year last year, but Mika's been here a lot longer. So the question was, where does Mika Zibanejad stand as an all-time Ranger? Like, where does he fall on the list of an all-time Ranger?
I would say number 7.
Number 7. No, that's way too high. You're giving him way too much credit. I don't know. So I thought about this, and I actually looked up some stats on it last night.
Yeah.
I don't think that Zibanejad is even probably top 20 right now. However, what I will say, because I'm assuming this is why the question got asked to us, that Mika Zibanejad, since he's been here in 2016, I think has been the most consistent best Ranger in that time. Again, Igor Shesterkin didn't become Igor Shesterkin in 2021, 2022. So Mika Zibanejad had been here 5 years prior, so I've got to evaluate that period of time. And Igor Shesterkin's not really in it. I could sit there and say, well, Henrik Lundqvist was here for his first 4 of 6 years. And while I could make that argument, I also have to look at it objectively and say that Henrik Lundqvist was in the downfall of his career. Not the downfall, but the backside of his career, the decline. He was getting older. Doesn't mean he was bad. It doesn't mean he was a bad goalie at that time, but he was just not who he was. So where does Mika stand as an all-time Ranger? To me, he's probably not even in the top 20, but I do think in this current core group or where we are right now, I just think he's the best Ranger of the last 6 years, right? If I'm sitting here looking at it, why don't we pull up the comment? I see Christine's listening, and I agree with the assessment. However, I feel he has time to make a mark. What that is to please everyone gets higher, so it's a challenge to make everyone happy. Yeah, and that's true. So Mika Zibanejad, and I don't know if this is what Christine's getting at, although I hope it is because we think alike, is if the Rangers ever win the Cup, with this group, and God willing they do, at least just give me one. I'm not even going to get greedy and ask for 3. Give me one. Mika Zibanejad is then easily within the top 20, and he's probably in the top 10. Like Mark Messier, and I love Mark Messier, and I'm going to say something I should not say on the air. I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
Basically, for 20 years, every internet passcode I had in my life, whether to my old school AOL mail, was Messier. Messier, everything.
Wow.
Everything, right?
Fanboy.
I love Mark Messier. Yeah. Oh, terrible obsession. I got kicked out. We'll tell a story another day. I got kicked out of a hotel in Boston trying to get his autograph when I was in college. I mean, I like Mark Messier. But Mark Messier, if you think about it, to Christine's point, if Mark Messier didn't win a cup in 94, I'm not sure we're sitting here. He's even an all-time great Ranger.
Wow.
He delivered us to the promised land. So if Mika Zibanejad continues his production, and he's been a point-a-game player every year except for his first 2 years here, so he can't really ask for more than that. He's made the power play better. He's always been the top-line center. If he does go on and win a cup at some point, then yes, his value skyrockets. But right now, I don't know. I don't know where.
Are there things that he can do to help the other players around him become better?
He does. So he played last year with Chris Kreider. Chris Kreider had a career year, over 50 goals. Again, we knew we were not going to see that again this year. But you have to, if Chris Kreider is scoring over 50 goals on the left wing, who's ever playing center deserves some of the credit, right? I mean, it's not random. It's not coincidental, shall I say, right?
Gotcha.
So where does Mika stand as an all-time Ranger? To me, he's probably not in the top 20. I'm not saying he's far out of it, but if he ever wins the Stanley Cup here, he would go skyrocketing up that list, as would guys like Igor Shesterkin, anyone who wins a championship in New York. Look at Eli Manning. Now, look, I don't want to get into you and debating with Giants
Let's
players.
go.
We're not. I'm not debating. But I'm saying Eli Manning is a good example, right? Eli Manning, to me, it's hard to do this comparison, and I'm not sure it's not apples to apples, but Eli Manning would be to me like Mika Zibanejad if Mika Zibanejad won a cup. Eli Manning is always going to be remembered for the 2 Super Bowl wins versus the Patriots, first and foremost, of course, right?
Goat killer.
Right, exactly. Undefeated season, all that stuff. The jerks up in New England with Belichick and Brady, which, by the way, that was nice to watch last night. Brady get eliminated again. But that would be what Mika would be if they won, right? Winning a championship in New York, as athletes always say, elevate you to a higher level than if you win a championship anywhere else. Or shall I say most of these? That's me being biased.
I mean, we're going Ranger comparison. I mean, it wouldn't make it, he'd be more like a Crosby, but like Crosby's not on the Rangers.
Who? Zibanejad?
No, Manning. Eli. I think Eli's a little bit more prestigious.
Eli Manning is
a little bit more prestigious. He's not Wayne Gretzky.
Listen,
but he's he's up there.
Let me tell you something. There's not a hockey podcaster out there who hates Sidney Crosby as much as me.
Okay.
But Eli Manning is not Sidney Crosby.
I'm just saying he's more of a little higher than Mika.
Okay.
A little bit more.
I don't know.
Not Wayne Gretzky high.
I don't know.
Gretzky's like the top.
I don't know how to give that answer because I also don't know what it would be like. I mean, he hasn't won a Stanley Cup. So the argument is just all hypothetical, right? If the Rangers ever win a Stanley Cup, where does Mika fall? But to answer the original question, I think, look, the last 6 years, he's the best Ranger there's been, most consistent. And you have to remember the other thing with Mika Zibanejad, which is a joke. Yeah. When they traded Jeff Gordon and they traded for Mika Zibanejad from Ottawa, they not only traded the players involved was Mika for Derek Brassard, which is totally a landslide who won that trade. Yeah. But the Rangers also got a draft pick, a second-round pick, I believe. It was either second or third round. I'm pretty sure it was a second-round pick for it as well. So you traded an aging Derek Brassard for Mika Zibanejad in a second-round pick. Yeah. That is a fleece by the Ranger front office.
I would say Mika is Danny Dimes. They're similar.
Stop. Don't
They're
even.
similar
I
path.
can't.
They're similar path.
I tell you,
Mika and Danny Dimes. That's a great. There's a comparison right there. Eli's a little bit more of a legend.
If you've sat through the first 20 minutes of this show,
yeah.
I'm warning you as we're about to change the topic now to football in a moment. Buckle up because I have no idea what my partner over here is going to say or even do. So, all right. So with the Rangers, they have a weird week. They are off with. You know what? We are going to have a guest come on in a minute, so I'm going to hold off on that. But with going to football, the Rangers will shift their gear now and go to the Garden on Thursday night, home against Boston. And then it's weird. They don't play at all until Monday. They're off the entire weekend, 3 nights. They don't play Friday, Saturday, or Sunday when they play Florida at home. So my guess is you're definitely going to see Shesterkin on Thursday night. But I would think the following game on Monday in the Garden against Florida, you'll see him there as well. So let's shift gears and go to football. Because I think we're going to have one of our favorite guests on in a minute.
Yes.
Wild card weekend. So
super
wild card weekend because we added 2 games.
Yes.
Well, let's go in order, I think, is the way to do this.
Okay.
So the first game, I didn't see the game of Seattle, San Francisco. And based on the highlights I saw and the score and what I heard, I'm not upset I missed it. Right? Were you?
The Seattle game?
Yeah.
I watched them all.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull up a bracket here for you. The Seattle game was
Seattle, San Francisco. San Francisco wins by a lot. Seattle kept it close for a while.
They kept it close.
But then, okay. So
it was a good game to watch.
Yeah, we won't get into that game. The next game, I want to talk about Saturday night. So Saturday night, the LA Chargers go to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I didn't see the beginning of the game. I turned it on in the second quarter. It was 24-0. I turned it off. I didn't even think about it the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, I woke up and the first thing I saw was a clip of Trevor Lawrence celebrating in Waffle House. Did you see this clip?
I did not see this.
Yeah.
clip.
Oh, it's out there. It's kind of hilarious, actually. So
yeah. So that was the big upset. Was that Jacksonville beat the Chargers, and in like a miraculous comeback too.
I don't understand. If you have a 24-point lead,
yes,
right,
mm-hmm.
in a football game at a halftime or whatever it was, 27-7, whatever,
mm-hmm.
how is it even possible for another team to come back? Are you just continuously throwing the ball when you should be running it out and running and draining the clock? Like and in the playoffs more than ever, you shouldn't be screwing around. Like, how does that even happen?
I don't know. That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts.
If I'm the Chargers right now,
yes,
and I don't ever, look, I don't like campaigning for people's jobs or whatnot, but Sean Payton is out there as like, the hot commodity coach and proven coach. And you have Justin Herbert, who's a young QB. Sean Payton was with Drew Brees when he was a young QB. And they built around him. They had Kamara. They had Deuce McAllister, which named back in the day, probably before you were a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you sit here and not now make a phone call and try and say, Sean Payton, like, are you available?
Who else is looking at Sean Payton? The Broncos?
The Broncos are looking at him, which to me is a bad fit because if you're a coach,
they're just grabbing at straws or looking at shiny objects.
Here's the problem with the Denver job. If I'm Sean Payton, that job is for if I'm Sean Payton, I'm too good for that job.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, something's up. And if Russell Wilson is not himself and he's already in the second half of his career, what am I getting involved in?
That's a job for like a really good college coach to make the transition into the NFL.
Yeah.
That's a job for it. Sean Payton should not look for that job, but the Chargers job is appetizing for Sean Payton.
I would think so. And then let's see, Sunday, I was shocked at how the Bills, again, were up 17-0. Next thing you know, it was 17-17.
Mm-hmm.
That game got a little too close for me if I was a Bills fan, but give the Bills credit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think now with everything that happened with DeMar Hamlin, like I feel like the world wants the Bills to win. They're getting more support.
My DraftKings bets wants the Bills Giants Super Bowl gets me $2,000. Let's go.
Yes.
From a $10 bet.
So yeah, that is true. So then we had the Giants game, which we're going to get into with our guest in a minute, but we'll go to the Sunday night game, which I didn't see. I had a feeling, and I'm mad at myself for not doing it, that with the Bengals and Ravens, it was just going to be a low-scoring defensive game. I should have bet the under.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of annoyed at myself. Like, I thought about it on Sunday, then never did it, and then saw it. I was like, darn it.
Mm-hmm.
That game, to me, not that exciting, kind of AFC North football. And then last night, Dallas moving on to San Francisco. So
what a letdown of a game.
You know what? I didn't see it.
It
Well,
was a letdown of a game.
I saw it was 18-0 or something. I said, you know what? I'm not
24-0 at some point. It was just like a letdown. Like Brady was throwing to places there was no one even close.
Yeah,
it was bad.
I don't know.
It was bad.
So let's see. I see her there in our virtual waiting room, and that is Nikki. Yes. Let's see, Nikki. How are you, Nikki?
Hi. How are you?
From the Giants podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, we got
some background music somewhere. Oh, it's coming from us.
Yep. There you go.
How are you?
Good. What's up, guys? How are you?
We are good. Must be a busy time of year, I would imagine, for you.
Yeah, usually it's not. Usually it's not. But it is this week. It is this year. So that's great.
Yeah, keeps you busy. All right, so let's start here. There's a bunch of places we could start. So
yeah,
with the Giants, let's go back to this past weekend before we go to Philly. Were you surprised more with how well the offense did or how bad the defense did?
I was definitely more surprised at how bad the defense did. I was not a fan of this zone coverage that, Wink was just married to. He did make adjustments, as the game went on, but I thought the defense would play a lot better. And, part of that, I felt like, okay, they're so worried about Justin Jefferson, but you're leaving, TJ Hawkinson wide open. And of course, the Giants haven't been able to cover a tight end in like 20 years. So I kind of expected that. But again, I just thought they were so worried about JJ. And I get that, we gave it up obviously to the tight end there, but I was more surprised at the defense.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So with the offense, so you were not as surprised. And I know from when you were on with us in November, you are Daniel Jones fans, and your stock of doing that is now only up more, I would imagine.
Yes.
Is this the type of performance for Daniel Jones that's going to shut up critics of his?
God, I hope so. I still maintain that this kid could go win us a Super Bowl and there's still going to be critics, right? They're still going to say, oh, he's not the guy. That's not, he's not it. I don't know how you look at his performance over the weekend and say that he doesn't deserve a contract. I don't know what else you could ask for. He doesn't have half the talent that some of these teams have offensively. And he's carried this team on his legs. It's been the Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley show for a majority of the season. I mean, we just got Isaiah Hodgins a few weeks ago, and, he's been great for us, but most of the season is just Daniel Jones just outperforming, and, he's exceeding expectations. He had a phenomenal game this weekend. So I think he's more than deserving of a contract at this point.
Okay, so to skip, we'll go past this week and we'll go to next season. Do you think now, I'll give you credit because you were on with us in Florida, and there's a clip on Instagram of me asking you this when I said next year, fast forward, September 2023, is Daniel Jones under center? You were definitive in saying yes back then.
Yeah.
So are you even more confident in that answer now than you were back then?
Yes. No, he'll be here. He will be here. The Giants organization made it clear they are going to extend an offer to him and Saquon Barkley. They want them both here. I think they do get a deal done with Daniel Jones. I think they find a way. Saquon, I don't know. We'll see. I do know he wants to be here, but, we'll find out. Money talks. But, yeah, I do think Daniel Jones is here next year for sure.
Okay. So we go now Saturday night. I was saying to people here in the studio before, the NFL got it right by putting this game in primetime. I was worried because the NFL doesn't always get it right. They said when the Giants won on Sunday, they said the game will be Saturday. It's either 4:30 or 8:15. The NFL network, the networks decide. And in my head, I'm like, how could you put this game at 4:30? Now the danger is, as I don't know if you saw this meme going around, that giving Philadelphia fans till 8:30 at night to drink all day is a little dangerous. If you're
That's rough.
Yeah. But true, though, I would agree with it. So the Giants go down to the link on Saturday night primetime. Are the Giants playing with house money at this point?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. That's what everybody's been saying. Oh, you're not supposed to be here, right? And it's house money. You were never supposed to be here. You weren't supposed to win 9 games. You weren't supposed to have Brian Daboll turn this franchise around. So what does it matter? Well, it matters. This is a bitter division rival. And I will tell you, there is nothing I would love more than to just, crush the hopes and dreams of all Eagles fans. But it's a tough opponent. This is not going to be easy. The Eagles have the Giants number. It's a very old school matchup. I think it's just going to be a complete grinded out type of game. But no, I think the Giants deserve to be here. You look at this NFC as a whole, as a conference, and they are one of the better teams. And I talked about this last summer, how to watch out for the NFC East. We're going to go from the least to the beast. And now here we are, Eagles, Cowboys, unfortunately, Giants, all vying to, get a shot here to go to the Super Bowl. So I think they deserve to be here. I think we're moving past this whole, we're playing with house money. No, we deserve to be there.
Okay. How concerned should the Giants or the Giants fans be with how bad the home game was versus Philly back in December? The Week 18 game doesn't matter. People didn't play. They weren't playing for anything. So the only thing we can really go off of was the Sunday afternoon debacle at MetLife. Should we be concerned, or is it a completely different animal now because it's the playoffs?
There's some degree to that, right? Playoffs, it's just different. You get this like ice in your veins. We saw it with Eli. He'd have a horrible season and you're screaming like, oh my God, like I get rid of this guy, and then he turns it on in the playoffs, right? So there is a degree to that. However, a lot of Giants fans are super cocky, going into Minnesota. And I get that. That was a favorable matchup. That was a beatable team that was doable. You cannot say that about Philly. I am very concerned. I haven't even made up my mind who I think is going to win. I'm not ready to pick yet. Like I said, the Eagles have the Giants number. We just can't ever seem to beat this team no matter where it is. It's almost like if it's at MetLife, who cares, Yeah, you have to be concerned. I'm absolutely concerned. You cannot take this team lightly.
So we're just going to glaze over the fact that the Giants came close to beating the Eagles with their second string in. The Eagles needed to win that game. We had our second string in. We put up a fight. We're just going to glaze over that.
Well,
nobody is more.
I mean, yes, but they also had their backups in. I think you just need to be concerned. Here's the flip side to that. So Jalen Hurts hasn't looked great, right? He's dealing with a shoulder injury. Sometimes those teams who have a bye week, they're a little bit rusty when they finally start to play again. So I'm not glazing over it. I'm just being like cautiously optimistic about it. So, I've been burned way too many times.
I'm going full optimist over here.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Okay, well, good. I maybe by the end of the week, I'll be there.
Yeah. You know what, Nikki, if you ever need anybody for any of your Giant stuff that where he's just a complete homer and optimistic, this is the guy for you. You can book
Okay.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah, this guy with the Giant.
Who,
Yes,
me?
I love it. Yeah, you come on rush hour Mondays.
Yeah, he'd be a perfect guest because he'd just be positive. The Giants could be 0-17, and he'd be saying that
we got a chance.
We got a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance? No, I appreciate it. I'm just like very hesitant because again, it is the Eagles. It's not an easy, matchup by any means ever. It never is.
No, it is not. And you're right when you said that Minnesota was a much more favorable matchup than this. And I mean, obviously Vegas agreed because the line it opened at 3 last week. I think it ended at 3, but for a while it went down to 2.5.
Correct.
So people kind of agreed on the Giants here. It opened at 7.5. I think it went down to 7, but it's back at 7.5. So
clearly, Giants are getting 7.5 points.
Yes,
I'm making that bet right now. Jeez,
of course you are.
Yeah,
you might as well,
I like the Giants and the points. I'm with you there.
I'm with you. I would agree with that. But the game itself is going to be interesting. All right, here's the $1 million question for you, Nikki. You ready?
Oh boy, I'm ready.
The Giants will win on Saturday night against Philadelphia if what happens?
If the Giants can get out to a fast start, you can't get behind in Philly, right? So if they can get out to a fast start, if they can get Saquon Barkley going, if that defense, that front seven can, make life hell for Jalen Hurts, and I think that they will. If they do all those things, if they have to limit the turnovers, that's the big key. You've got to limit turnovers against the Eagles. If they can do all of that, they've got a chance, and they can win. I'm just, I'm very cautious about it right now.
It's a tough. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not at a point here, and we're gonna have to in a couple minutes make picks because we do that every week. This is not. You want to pick the Giants, but there's a part of you, it's like it's Philly and it's not a good matchup. All right, so let me ask you some picks on this. You're an NFC expert. You know the NFC East well.
Mm-hmm.
Last night, the Dallas Cowboys advanced by beating Tampa, and they go actually out west next week to San Francisco, which I think is a very intriguing game, by the way. It's not going to get as much coverage in New York because we're all going to hear about Giants-Eagles. But I think the Cowboys and 49ers is a fascinating game. Is there a team you like in this game?
I'm just happy it's an old school game, right? I mean, this is some old school matchups we got. Dallas, San Fran, we got Giants, Eagles. Like, hi, 1994 called, let's get the NFC back. I don't know who's stopping the 49ers. I really don't. That defense is something serious right there. Shout out to Brock Purdy, who is doing the damn thing. And who called that? Who saw that? I don't think that the Cowboys are going to I think it'll be a good game, but I do think San Francisco comes out on top. That I just don't know who's going to stop them.
I agree. For Dallas, they already won one playoff game. It's kind of like they've already hit their limit. Go ahead, Doug.
This is for both of you. Who would you rather play? If you're the Giants, you beat the Eagles, knock on wood. Who would you rather play, the Cowboys or San Francisco?
Give me the Cowboys.
I would be the same. Yeah, I think San Francisco is as good as they've been. I still think they don't get enough respect for how good they are, actually.
Yeah.
And I think if the Giants lose, and I say this is an if, don't worry, Doug, and it was the 49ers and the Eagles next week, the 49ers could beat the Eagles. That's a certain team with that defense that could beat the Eagles for sure.
All
right, let's flip to the AFC real quick before we let you go, Nikki. So Saturday, probably the less appealing matchup of the 4 NFL weekends divisional round starts with the Jacksonville Jaguars going to Kansas City. I think it's hard to go against Kansas City. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's hard. I'm not going to bet against Kansas City, but props to Doug Peterson, right? I thought he was a good fit down there in Jacksonville. I do think he's a good coach. I hated him, obviously, being in the NFC East, but I thought he would definitely coach this team up, and he has this year. And I like to see a young, up-and-coming team, have some success. I don't think they're going to fare that well against Kansas City, but we've seen crazier things happen.
Yeah, and if you're talking about the term house money, nobody has more house money right now than Jacksonville, right? You've already gotten in the playoffs in your first year with Peterson, and Trevor Lawrence is still young, showing up at the Waffle House at 2 a.m. there the other night. So, I mean, you can you could lose by 50 in Kansas City, and you've had a very good year. I mean, at this point, there's nothing else. All right, the other AFC game is really good, and I'm almost kind of upset that one of these teams has to lose, and that is Cincy at Buffalo. I was a little surprised at the line. The line opened at the Bills giving 5, which it's still at. I thought it was a little high, maybe by a couple points. What do you think of this game on Sunday?
Wow, so we're getting the game, right? We didn't get this game a couple weeks ago. I can't imagine the emotion that's going to be tied to this game. This is going to be an extremely emotional game on both sides, right? Because you think about where the sports world, where the football world was 2 weeks ago with these two teams. And, nobody knew what was going to happen. And gosh, thankfully, a happy ending, which is fantastic. So emotionally, I guarantee you both teams are going to be charged up. I don't even know where you go in terms of picks. I am a huge Joe Burrow fan. Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase is just lethal. But then I have to sit here and think Buffalo's at home. Everything that happened with DeMar Hamlin. Here's Cincinnati again. We were supposed to have this game 2 weeks ago. I just don't know if the emotion's going to be and the adrenaline is going to be too much. But then you look at Josh Allen, it's like, dude, you throw picks at the worst time possible, and Cincinnati's going to take advantage of that. So this is going to be a very interesting, high-charged game, I think.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It's a hard game to pick. Even with the line being 5 points, it's a hard game to pick. All right, last question before we let you go. Saturday night, where do you watch the game?
Well, there is a chance that some, podcasts are getting together. So we'll see. If we're not doing a meetup, I think I just need to be in my house, shut the door, away from the public, because I can't. I don't know.
I was telling the people here that I was with a season ticket holder yesterday for the Giants, huge fan. And he said, "Look, I just need to be alone, right? Like I don't want to be out of the bar. I want to be by myself.
Yeah.
And I want to be watching it by myself. So
yeah, because if I'm throwing shit, I'll break my own shit, not at the bar or something. I think I need to just be shut and locked away somewhere."
And all it takes when you go to a bar for that is you need one Eagle fan there to be obnoxious, and it just completely ruins the experience, right? But you don't have to worry about that in your own home.
Yeah, no.
Well, thank you. That is Nikki Gist, as always. We'll have you back again, hopefully for some more player preview. But if not, we'll be back to do some off-season stuff at some point. Hopefully.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. So yeah, look, Saturday night. Okay. Where will you watch the game?
I don't know. I just got a text. Might go to my brother-in-law's. That might be a possibility. I watched the last game. I watched the Minnesota game at my other brother-in-law's. So ideally I like to hoot and holler and fight the Eagles fans, but it might be a smart idea for me to be in a private location.
I will leave it at this, and I said this to our executive producer Pat before. I don't even know if you were in here. If you're the Giants, and you can somehow on a Saturday night end the Eagles season in Philadelphia when they were the 1 seed,
tastes so good.
I mean, do you even sleep that night? Like, do you go to bed?
Well, thank God it's Saturday night. We're gonna party all like it's 1999
or 1994, as Nikki was saying.
Yeah.
So, all right, NFL divisional matchup.
Timeout. You're just gonna glaze over some things.
What would
Danny
you like?
Dimes MVP like game. Brian Dable, Coach of the Year awards.
Okay. First off,
all right.
Hold on. Okay. We mentioned Daniel Jones's performance. I asked with the questions. Okay. I didn't talk about Dable. I think Dable's phenomenal. And again, you're still mad at me that I wouldn't vote for him for Coach of the Year. That doesn't mean he hasn't done a good job.
So when is the Coach of the Year get?
It's already done. So they vote.
So it's just not going to be like the Pro Bowls will never release all this stuff.
I don't know with the NFL. A lot of times they do stuff on Super Bowl weekends. Like they usually do like the Hall of Fame, who's getting in that weekend. I don't know with the Coach of the Year when it's announced.
Because it's going to be great when we beat the Eagles.
But that's not factored into the voting.
It should be.
No, I understand that, but it's not, right?
So I get it.
Brian Dable could go on a run where he beats teams 100-0 and wins the Super Bowl. The votes are already done.
I just feel like, the votes can be already in, but like, say he does go super far, that should have an effect on Coach of the Year. He took this team.
It doesn't, though. I know what you're saying, but it's based strict. Same thing with hockey. The same thing with any sports. Baseball managers of the year are done at the same thing. End of the regular season before the playoffs start. We're going to base it all on the body of work that you've had in the regular season, not the postseason.
So all you need to do is our defense needs just to contain Jalen Hurts. We need to have a QB spy in the middle, and we need to have our ends, defensive ends, contain him. Yeah, I think we'll be in good shape.
We shall see. You know what? One way or another, you're going to get the answer on Saturday night.
We are. I'm so excited.
We thank Nikki Gist for joining us as always from the Giants podcast. We thank you for listening with the Rangers. Like I said, a slower week, but an interesting week in the sense that they'll have a test on Thursday night at home versus Boston, best team in the NHL, and then they'll be off until Florida on Monday. Other than that, check out the Bamboozle Project. Use promo code MYPB. You save yourself 25%. And other than that, enjoy the football game. I think we do need to queue up a different song, if I'm not mistaken. If I see queued up there on that's coming up. You got it? Okay, I was going to say, that would have been really interesting to close out the show with that. So the divisional weekend this weekend, enjoy, and we will talk to you next week.